Sephora is giving the Golden State Warriors a makeover, and I honestly think that this partnership could be a blueprint for other NBA teams to start changing the culture around the league. The 7-time NBA champions have announced that they will be partnering with Sephora, marking the first Valkyrie sponsor to move on to also sponsor the NBA team. Sephora was a founding partner of the Golden State Valkyries, and because of that, they've not only been a part of the WNBA team since it was rolled out, they also have the naming rights to the WNBA team's Performance Center in Oakland. Sephora will become the official fragrance partner of the Golden State Warriors, and they'll also become the official sponsor of the Golden State Warriors dance team. We're set to see Sephora actually create individualized content around the players as well as the dance team throughout the season, but the most interesting part of this sponsorship to me is that in the Golden State Warriors stadium, we're actually going to see Sephora set up a storefront. During all home games, Sephora will have a kiosk set up at Chase Center, and fans will be able to purchase a curated selection of items from that kiosk during game day. And I'm hopeful that we'll also see other types of fan engagement, including giveaways and makeovers and things like that in the stadium. But overall, I actually think that that kind of presence, as well as having Sephora prominently highlighted throughout the stadium, plus this content series that we're set to see all season, starts to change this narrative about who belongs in a stadium. One of the things that we're seeing as major leagues try to bring a more female audience into the stands is that they're not necessarily finding a way to make a new audience feel welcome in that space. The NBA, as well as other sports like the NHL and the NFL, were fighting against decades of culture that essentially says this is a man's space. And not only is it a man's space, but it's a certain type of man's space. Now, personally, I know that women have always been in the stadium because I have been one of them, but that doesn't change the fact that it hasn't always been the most welcoming space, and that categorically we know that women do not necessarily feel comfortable coming into the stadium because they're not sure what the culture is going to be like when they arrive. Ally put out a study recently that showed that women are more likely to actually engage in fan spaces outside of the stadium rather than going to the game. And a lot of that, I think, has to do with the culture of that space. And so, as silly as it might seem, Sephora not only becoming a sponsor of the Golden State Warriors, but also having a presence in the stadium and a presence on social media starts to change a visible idea of what this stadium looks like, what the culture inside is going to look like, and what type of person should walk through that door and feel welcome. I also think there's a really fun idea of also trying to change what the idea of masculinity looks like, highlighting the idea of beauty and fragrance for men as well. And hopefully we also see a crossover between the Golden State Valkyries players being welcomed into the stadium, and maybe also a little bit of an NBA and WNBA crossover in terms of marketing. I think ideally this sponsorship and others like it can start to make these spaces feel less like a monolith. Fan spaces should be welcoming to all different types of fans, and big brands taking a risk to try to make a change to that culture is the type of investment that we need to see for fan spaces to change. So for you, if you are an NBA fan or you're just getting into basketball, would a partnership like this make you feel a little bit more welcome as a fan of the team or in the stadium itself? And do you think we'll see a little bit of crossover between the Golden State Warriors and the Golden State Valkyries as they start to share sponsors, hopefully both ways?